yes, you can do all the research. You can watch all the YouTube channel. You can watch the Instagram reels, and you can watch all the stories. But is that you? Because your personal circumstances is different from what they're talking about.
My advice to that past self would have been to be a little bit more specific.
There's no way that, I would look back that doing it herself, that would have been able to prepare.
Hey everyone, it's Moses here from Anonymous Property. This is another episode where I get to introduce my clients who they've bought their first home, but today we're going to talk about that journey, and they're going to share with you their experience of being a home owner. So I've got my clients here today, Kelly and Dara. Welcome guys, and good to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I want to start with you, Kelly. What do you do?
I am a project manager and operation manager.
Awesome. And you, Dari?
I own a business, a removal business. I'm entrepreneur.
Fantastic. And I know obviously at the moment the business is, it's going very well.
Yeah.
It was not easy to get you here.
It's really busy. It's a busy time of the year. So, yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So you guys are now homeowners, but before we go deep into that, my first question to you is, what inspired you to become a homeowner?
What do you say inspired us?
Well, we've always wanted to, own our own place. Even before we got married, there was a discussion towards that, and also just following in the footsteps of Kelly's parents as well. They've worked so hard and have their own home, and just seeing that is something that you just see, and that inspires you as well. And also with most of my friends at the time, they're really good getting into properties. You hear so many things about it, but so there's so many inspirations, but it's always been something that we wanted, to own our own home. So yeah.
What about you, Kelly? Anything to add to that?
No, I think it's pretty much. We just always assumed when we were married we would eventually get our own home anyway. Always thought it was more beneficial to have it under your name rather than be renting all the time. I think I just look back and think, why did I wait until then though? Because I wish I'd got into it a lot earlier since going through this process. So
now, when it comes to renting, do you want to share, because now you've experienced both sides. You were renting and now you are a homeowner. So tell us briefly, what was it like? What was your experience like renting? How did you find it in terms of renting?
I think initially we were two different kinds of renters before we even got married. So I was just cheap and just anything with a roof over my head, basically. I've lived in some awful places. Dari is definitely more, it has to be comfortable and luxury. So when we got married, to be honest, we didn't even know where we were going to live. That was a whole testimony in itself. I'd only just got into a new job at the time. Happened to be talking to my manager. She noticed that I was engaged, started asking questions, and then said, might be a bit forward, but I've been thinking about renting out my house. What do you guys think? Would you? And I was thinking, how is this happening? We're at work. I'm in my manager's office and she's offering to rent out a 3-bedroom house. So when we went to visit and view it that weekend, we actually couldn't believe what we could have been, what we were actually entering into. It was just really, really lovely area. And I guess that initially there was no pressure either because she was my manager. I didn't think there's going to be any issues. It was just as risky for her as well because she's never done this before. Hence why she felt she trusted me, because she's seen how I manage myself around the office. She saw how I worked and she thought that's the kind of person that I could have in my house. So it kind of started from there. Then we lived in there for 2 years. But she wanted to put the rent up.
Yeah.
And we thought, you know what? This is the time to leave and hopefully get our own place.
Yeah.
And It wasn't too bad. I mean, out of comparing that to my other rentals, she wasn't too bad. But obviously, you don't have the control of the property. It was quite well kept. I mean, we had a major water leak at one point in a downstairs toilet, but she was good. She was able to manage it. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, if I may add to that, I think that, with your manager, seeing that, the way you were at work, I think that really give her that trust, I think he wanted us to stay in the property more than what we thought initially. So it was later on that we got to find out that, she actually wanted someone that, she can trust. And also, the at the time, the property is more than what she offered us to take it. I must say that. But we left the place better than what it was when we were leaving. And she was really, really, impressed with that, and was like, I couldn't believe, like, we done it well, more than even when she was living in the property. So, yeah.
Nice. Now, I mean, I think that's the thing about renting, though, because there are different types of people who rent. So there are people who rent a property and don't appreciate that someone else spent money to buy that house, and they have a mortgage and they have to pay, and that's how they survive. We're not going to go into the landlord rental stuff, but I also think it's good when you rent a place to see it as your home, because you are paying for it and you live in there. So, if you live in there, look after it. I used to rent, and I remember when I got a place to rent, again, before I got married, and we got the flat, and I remember my wife said to me, I am not moving into this flat with you until you do it up. And I was just like, okay, hey, just got married, keep this woman happy, let's go. And that was literally my first time of doing up a property. So I ended up doing up the whole place. So repainting, new flooring, it was done up nicely. And we enjoyed it, other than the fact that we didn't have kids then, but we had a dog. So my dog had one room to herself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she had a room
Posh
to herself.
dog.
She's like, yo, this is my room. There's no baby here. But, when it comes to renting, while you're there, there are loads of people who rent right now, and they still have that dream of becoming a homeowner. And I think the fact that you guys thought about that first, but you still went on to rent, so which also gave you the opportunity to look after someone else's home, see what it's like to pay your rent, pay the bills. So there's that management there first, because sometimes people underestimate renting, because renting is kind of like a practice for you to pay your rent on time, pay your council tax, pay the bills, the water, broadband, everything, and your food. And it gets to a point where you think, okay, now I want a place of my own. So while you were renting, we had a conversation. And I wanted to talk about that conversation because you had a get together, if I'm correct. I guess.
Yeah.
It was a get together that I didn't even know you guys were thinking of buying a property. It was just, I just came to eat the food. I came to enjoy the food. It was not, my kids were there. It was a family get together. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you guys came to me and said you wanted to have a chat. So tell me, what was actually going through your mind during that period of you now stepping out, saying, you know what, let's do it now. Kelly said to Dari, this is the time for us to buy. Let's speak to Moses and let's get it started. What was going through your mind when we had that conversation? All right, and how did you find that conversation?
I didn't have a lot of knowledge on it, to be honest, so I didn't know what to expect. But I think for me, it was more about understanding what we would need to do as the next step to get there. Like I mentioned earlier, I wish I had done all of this a lot earlier to get the knowledge and to have saved up enough to have done it in the first place. But for different reasons and for different things that I was going through, I used money for ministry and all different kinds of things. So I think having that first conversation with you was insightful, and it was more about me kind of looking at what we could do. we are ambitious people at the same time. So whilst we had the testimony of getting this house to rent, we also felt that we could afford that house. But by the time she'd also checked to see how much it had appreciated, we were like, oh, okay. And we just kept praying into it because we thought, we're just people of faith, and we'll just see what happens. And you hear testimonies of crazy things happening. And she even kept saying herself, but guys, this is your house. Like, she even wanted it for us, for herself. So I guess in a way it was like I personally didn't want to feel rocked from that, great vision, dream big, or that kind of stuff. But you were able to bring in the reality, whilst also the expectation of, but don't feel that you're just going to be in a 1-bed flat and you haven't got to look at the lowest of the low. Because I remember some pictures that I showed you later on and you were like, Gelly, no. No, just no. So that was my expectation. I don't know if you had anything different.
Yeah, I think on my side, it's just because I know that, okay, Moses, this is what Moses does, something with property, but I have no full idea of what you really do, but I just know that, okay, there's something with property that you do help people to do. So I spoke to Kelly. I was like, Moses, so he does this. There's different things that about property. So we just kind of just take it from there, really. And also at the place that we were staying at the time, it's just to prepare us to just know how to go about things. But then it's also a case of like, when people are getting married, they kind of, do plans and preparations towards that. So I just feel like it's the same thing that if you are spending, you're going to be, it's a big thing, to own a home. So it's also good to have someone that will, hold your hand. So hence why, the expectation is just like, oh, we don't want to, make mistake. And you do hear a lot of stories as well. So in terms of reality, to just know, what to expect and what you are looking forward to, or what you're, so many things that, you need to know. So it's just that. So the expectation was just to know, just to know what to do.
Yeah. And I think when we spoke and there was that conversation, like, we love this home, we can say this is home. And for what I do, a lot of the time, one thing I don't do when I work with people is to shatter their dreams. So when people come to you with this expectation, and I know the processes, I know the steps, and I understand how things work. But when anyone comes to me and say, I've seen this house, this is my dream home, I want to buy this house, I want to own this home, a lot of the time I'm like, fantastic, that's emotion speaking. But I'm going to come in as a professional and give you the reality without breaking your heart. Without breaking your heart. And like you rightly said, there are people who want to become homeowners in this country and probably across the world. And sometimes there's a bit of, you go out there and I'm sure you guys went on Google, steps to becoming a homeowner. I'm sure you, Kelly, look like someone that I feel like you read a lot about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You do the research. But one thing I've come to find out is that, yes, you can do all the research. You can watch all the YouTube channels. You can watch the Instagram reels, and you can watch all the stories. But is that you? Because your personal circumstances is different from what they're talking about. They can just tell you, get your mortgage, get a survey, go do this, you go do this. 5 steps to becoming a homeowner, boom, done. But with you guys were in a situation where your landlady liked you, worked with you. So there was just like, you are thinking, okay, I also don't want to mess up this relationship that I have. Could you imagine how if something went wrong and you went to work the next day and you were like, morning, and she just went, mm-hmm. You're thinking, would you like a cup of tea? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You didn't wonder. But when we sat down, that wasn't even even the consultation. I remember you guys now booked a one-to-one consultation. Yeah. Now with this consultation, when people ask me about it, sometimes they'll talk about the money they have to pay. I don't want a free service. You know what I mean? I don't want a free service. how did you guys? Because that was a conversation. But when we actually had the one-to-one consultation where I dived into like the nitty-gritty of things, from the affordability, deposit, buying this house, or having that conversation with you guys about, just be open-minded. And if you don't get this one, even though you wanted this property, you will definitely find your home. Because if you remember, I said to you guys from the beginning, it's a house. Not you, Derek, but Kelly makes it a home. You know what I mean? It's a house, but basically you guys make it a home. How did you find that in-depth consultation when we now went from that consultation into now really understanding your affordability? How was that for you?
I think it was really clear, really smooth. I guess there's the usual questions in regards to the finances and your credit scores, all that kind of thing, which we easily just went through step by step. I think for me, it's just knowing that even in that conversation, you're already still like 2 steps ahead in terms of affordability, value, and then equity. There was so many times when I just wanted to say that we had X amount of money to get like the best thing, and you again had to keep bringing me back to reality and just say, but as long as you're on the ladder, as long as you just get in, it's still an investment, it's still an asset that then you can look 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line to whatever else you want to go to. So let's look at what we have now. So you kept us very present, and you just boundaries, I think, which is what we needed, or what I needed, because I would get carried away. I know I even set up my own all right move account. You're like, Kelly, what are you doing? I said, don't contact them. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, just love looking at different houses, and I'm getting a bit carried away. And so you just kept us under control, basically. But it was a really helpful conversation. A lot of things that we didn't know or didn't expect as well at the same time. So like
Kelly said, there's a lot of things that we have no idea about, and having the consultation with you, it really helps to know your you mentioned something about affordability, and I think that's really, really key, knowing what you can afford and the opportunity that is there for you. Because initially I was more like, oh, we want this place. I was more like, the place, we've made it home, we've been living here. Even like I said, with the landlady, she was more like, oh, you guys are settled there. So for me, it's just, there's a process that is going on. Let's just go with the process. But when we had a consultation with you, I realized so many things that we didn't even see, that there are things that we need to, look at. So it's just the breakdowns of the opportunities of what is out there, and step by step how you are going to hold our hand. I think that's the confidence as well that you built within us, to know that, okay, I'm going to hold your hand from this moment till you exchange the keys, and this is the process. This is what you need to put in place. So there's so many things that you were able to let us see, things that will get us ahead of people in the process of even buying as well. That was in the consultations, and I really see that during the process how we were really ahead of other people. And so it's really key to just know that what you do actually help people from the scratch, and that was really, really helpful. So
and it's not easy for you either, because like, do you not feel you have to get the balance of like not allowing you to look at some £7 million mansion, but then also not feel like you're just going to get a little shed in the garden because that's what you can afford? Because at one point I was like, well, that's it then, we're not going to get anything, mate. But then you were able to keep us up above water, but not so high that we're now kind of cloud 9 and you're like, whoa, stop looking at Buckingham Palace kind of thing, like just come down to reality. So because I did feel like this isn't going to happen then. It felt like we were
but I also, for me, it's just knowing that what you do, you let people know that wherever you are, there's something for you out there. And I really like that, whatever you have, there's something for you. And what you do, even with the consultation, I see that, with what you have, I'll get you the best out there with what you can afford. And it's just being realistic as well. The expectations of like, oh, I want this, I want that, but you can't afford this. So you set that straight from the onset, so which was really, really good. So the consultation was fabulous.
There was a time I got a phone call from social media, and a guy called me, and we just started speaking. I think he's looking at what we do, and he already bought his house, not in another area, and something got to me, and he was just being honest with me when we started having a conversation about what I do and how I help people. And he said to me, do you realize that there are people out there who buy houses they can't afford? And I started smiling and laughing. I was like, I know that. And he goes, no, do you actually realize? And he was like, no, do you actually know that there are people out there who buy houses that I'm thinking, why is this guy, this is a stranger, I don't know you. You contacted me from social media, I don't really know you. And he was like, I'm one of those people. And I thought, oh man. So I said, what happened? And he said, I see what you do. I didn't have that help. And my friends are buying houses, and they just tell you story how it's so easy, and they give you advice, and we bought here, and there's nothing. And for me, I believe you can do it yourself. And I really believe so. But then when he said to me that I really wanted to buy a house, but then I've not bought a house that is too expensive for me. But when I got a house, the housewarming, everyone comes up, oh my goodness, your house is beautiful. Like, oh, I can't wait to go buy mine. But it's like when everyone left, he's thinking, after a couple of months, he's thinking, wow, this mortgage is quite high. One of the reasons why he called me was because he was thinking perhaps he will sell. Now, this is a new homeowner. And that sometimes makes me think that, are there people out there still making mistakes? And then you shared some story, which I don't want to go into, people you know. And then you also, with what you do, said to me you went to help someone move, and then do you want to touch on that?
Okay, yeah. So that, I think when you actually have a full understanding of what you've done for us, that was the turning point for me. Because like I said, my business is removal business, which is more into property. When people complete, we move them and all of those things. So, and I went to these they're siblings, so they bought the place together. So I went there to move them with their family. So getting there, so one thing that I realized is I was talking to them, because I always talk to my customer just to see that, oh, why are you moving? What's going on? So I got to know that, okay, they bought this place and blah blah blah. So it just just a normal conversation. Then it just happened at the same time that we just bought our place, and then I asked them, just out of interest, because from the moment that we bought our place, if I see any property, I'm always interested in, you just open your eyes to so many things. So I become this
property expert.
Yeah, just to see. So I was just so inquisitive, and I asked them, how much did you buy this place then? And they told me that they got the place for 386, which is way, when you. I nearly like what did you? Yeah, and what I realized is that their house is nowhere near our property. The property that you got us, and now realizing how it's easy for people to overpay, because I think there was something that you were saying as well. When people panic buy emotion, when they buy with emotion, and I think this is what these these siblings did, because there was nobody to hold their hands. So, and the agent really, they got them so much that I look at the property and it's nowhere near. So I just thank God thank God for people like Moses, and that was just a mind blowing, just to see, them sharing that moment, just what they went through even to get to buy the place, and it was just they paid ridiculously over how much it should be compared to what we bought for ours, and their house is nowhere near. So I could see from that moment that it's very easy for people to just, if you don't have anybody to hold your hand, because you don't know what you're doing really. We might think we know, but we don't really know. And that was the moment that I saw that, yes.
Was that at the same time as we bought our house that then?
It was after we bought ours.
Not long after?
Not long after.
Okay.
Yeah, not long after.
Because what occurs to me is the seasons.
Yeah.
You don't realise that there's peaks and troughs in property as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our season was crazy.
Oh,
so they obviously got pressured. But
yes, there was the high season. And one thing I wanted to talk about, and I think this is something that I've also come across when speaking to clients, the discipline to save for a deposit. Because when you're renting, depending on when you rent, most rent, some rents are like 1,200, 1,300. When you're renting, and especially if you doing it, imagine you're doing it by yourself, you're renting and paying all those bills and at the same time trying to save. People sometimes struggle with the discipline because they'll open like the Help to Buy, they'll open like the ISAs and things like that. But I have come across, again, clients who we've had a consultation and they've been saving. And when it was now time to move on to the next step, when we have the follow-up and we talk about how are things in place, and I was like, oh, by the way, Moses, can we start this in a few months' time? And I'm like, oh, why is that? I thought we were moving at a good space. Something came up. I spent this and I spent that. And I'm thinking, ooh, so for those that are listening, how did you guys manage the discipline? Because when you start to save money, all of a sudden you see this amount. You walk into that shop and you see this bag looking at you thinking, man, I've got money now. Or you just see, or something, life happens. How did you guys maintain your discipline to save?
Go on, Mr.
I would say, like in our own case as well, it's always been just seeing what our landlady, how the woman was able to, just did what she did with her house and all of that. Then, it's a really nice house, I must say. That's an inspiration as well. But when you see that, okay, this person can actually do this for themselves and have a home like this, that's an inspiration. So it's just the target, the goal is there. So it's either you want this or you want to keep renting, or you want to keep just being at people's mercy, because with renting as well, they can tell you that we need our house back. So it's just having that discipline really. And what help in our own case is just like I said again, Kelly's mom and dad, our parents, what they've done over the years as well is just what's there. So we have things around us and the discipline to be able to just stick to it, to stick to what we want to do, the goal. And I think that's really key, because it's very easy, like you said, to just say, oh, we're saving this for the house, and all of a sudden then something you can go ahead. So it's just being disciplined with what we see and what we want for ourselves, that we really want to achieve this, and that's just what has really helped.
We never planned to rent that place for more than a couple of years either, did we?
Yes,
when we got married, we never said, oh, we'll just see what happens and just see how long it takes. We went in with that plan. It's only going to be a year, 2 years, but let's start working up to it. I think my advice to that past self would have been to be a little bit more specific. Like, I would have even loved to have had that first consultation with you then, and then even come back to you 2 years later to then say, right, we've got our deposit, now we're ready. Because not even really know how much you're saving up for. Are you going for a Help to Buy scheme? Are you going for a full-on house? At how much? And then the solicitor's fees and all these other fees that come out of it. You think that full deposit is going to go on the house. And you're like, no. So really your deposit's this. And you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd saved a bit more because that's what I wanted it to be. I didn't want to now take out solicitor's fees and stamp duty and all these different other costs that come with it. So I think I would have liked to have had that conversation earlier to then know more specifically what am I saving. And yeah, we were just disciplined in terms of just having that goal, wasn't it?
From the
mind. And like I said, just being inspired by what other people can do.
Yeah.
And think, we can have that. We're not big holiday people, so you have to make sacrifices. We haven't been traveling the world. We don't, I mean, you look nice, but you very good.
I like that. You look nice.
You look nice,
I'll
but
just compliment you a little bit there.
But he's a savvy shopper. He won't tell you a secret about Zara.
He's looking.
But
he's Zara guy.
Yeah,
Hey, look
but
at that,
he's
man.
got a way. He knows exactly when to
gave
pinpoint
this
those
discipline
cells.
out.
Come on now.
He knows exactly what to do. So I can't. I still complain. I still. Oh, where did this come from? How much are you spending? But then you'll show me the tag, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you did well.
Oh,
You did
lovely.
well. So yeah, you just
Nice.
you have to really want it. You can't put it to one side. You have to really want
I'm
it.
going to help you there. If you guys remember, there was something, before I even say that, you just said something, and this is what I get a lot with people. So people will contact me, or they'll come to contact my team. You know, we want to do a consultation with you. They'll get a prize. They'll be like, oh gosh, they'll be like, oh, your consultation is a bit too expensive. And I'll come back to you in 6 months' time, and I'll come back to you in a year's time. And then when they come to me in a year's time, then they realize, oh, sugar, I need a bit more deposit. Do you know what I mean? If you are looking to buy a house, it is so important that you plan way ahead of time. When I wanted to buy my first house, we started planning 2014. And we bought a house, moved in 2018. And I've helped loads of people ever since. But it was really planned. And one thing I tell all my clients, and it's something I came up with: temporary pain, maximum gain. And it's just putting things on hold. Like you said, we weren't traveling. We didn't travel that much. We just thought, listen, we were renting a place, and then we got that. For us, it was like, okay, you got to go. You got to move out. I think it was during my graduation ceremony, you know. Yes. So you can imagine I was going for my graduation ceremony because I did my second degree, you know, and then I was going to pick up my first class degree in business. But, and you know, I was happy, but at the same time, I was worried because I'm thinking, you've been given a month and a bit. I think it was about 3 days after Christmas, we had to move. Yeah, so the letter was on the table. Family came round. We went to. I was smiling. You know, I worked hard to get first class, but at the back of my mind, I'm like, my goodness me, you know, next month I've got to move. What do I do? And you know, you're renting. It's like, what do I do? And I think that really, 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 really motivated us. And then I said, you know what? In faith, let's give the house a name, the Bright Home. So that's why over 7+ years now, helping people become homeowners, I always tell them, give it a name. Because by the time you give it a name, you are now focused. You know, okay, I tell all my clients, remember, I don't know if you guys remember, I say, you can't travel during this period. It's not that I don't want you to travel, but I'm like, why don't you have that feeling of traveling, going on holiday, and then when you come back, you go back into your own home. Like, you know, you get back to your own, this is yours now. Do you know what I mean? You know, hopefully you don't come back to see that kind of letter that I got to say, you know what I mean? So it's a thing of, if people really want to buy a home, the discipline has to be there. The planning has to be there. A lot of people read things, and because I'm consulting with loads of people still read this stuff. And we're on Instagram, and there are loads of people who are giving tips on Instagram on how to buy property. But one thing I keep saying is your personal circumstances is different. It is so different. You can get the 5% deposit, you know, your solicitor costs. But when you narrow it down and you have someone you are now accountable to, you know, okay, we want to buy this property. We've got this money. And by the time you do your consultation, you realize, oh, wow, I was saving for 5%. But because of my personal circumstances, I have to put on 10%. Or I was saving for 10%. But due to my personal circumstances, the lender will only lend to me if I have 15%. And I'm saying this because I've gone through this with my clients who sometimes like, Moses, I'll come back to you when I'm ready. And a lot of the time when they do come back to me, we then have to start again. So it's a very valid point that you made that, if you want to do this, be very serious about it and know, okay, because we cover everything. We cover cost. And one thing I always say is after you buy your house, you don't go broke. Because I've also heard stories of people who bought their property, and then they're asking for money. Kelly, do you mind if I have 300 quid, please? I need to pay for my couch. No, you should never be in that position of buying your home and not having any money whatsoever. So I want to talk about something which was amazing, something amazing that happened. So we got you guys, we went for the affordability. Now you know how much you can afford. And then I had to tell you that house was not yours. And I know it wasn't easy because I know you and Daryl was like, we trust God for this. You're a believer, I'm a believer. Christians. I said we really believe for this. And I remember when I had to call and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell them now that okay, I loved, and the house is beautiful. Come on, it was a beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful. Your birds even like it. Those 2 birds you have, they loved it. Like this is so. Like they were just chirping. They were just tweet, don't move. But I remember I had to give you the reality that for me it's about what can you afford. Remember we went through like the payments, and then I was also planning ahead thinking, knowing interest rate was going to go up, I didn't want you guys to struggle. If you think about it, interest rate has gone up crazy ever since then, but you guys have been great. You know what I mean? You guys have been great. Now imagine if you had said, no, we are adamant we want that house, and then interest rate went up. What would have happened?
Probably on the street.
Do you know what I mean?
It would have crashed.
So now let's go through the buying process. So we got you the mortgage, we got everything ready for you guys. Our mortgage broker worked so well with you guys, and that process we had to. Sometimes it looked like it's taking so long. Again, people think just get because the way we get you an AIP is not just some general stuff. It's we go deep into things to make sure you are actually pre-approved, because we want to present you to the agents or the landlord to say, these are our clients, they are good to go. So we got that, and then the viewing started. Now, Kelly, due to Lauren's, commitment and work, running this business and things like that, you were mainly doing the viewings, and I went some of the viewings with you.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through? Because you had some amazing stories, but then I love the fact that you also noticed some mistakes that other buyers made, first-time buyers made. I'll start with the property that was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. But let's talk about that, Kelly, because they only just bought the house. It was done up. They've renovated it, but then they had to sell it. So talk us through that, because you were able to experience the difference from trying to do it yourself and when you have someone to guide you. So let's talk about your viewings, your viewings experience.
I was really excited to be doing the viewings, to be honest, because I don't know. I think I've got good taste, and I think, like I said, the woman makes the house a home. So I was very up for the job and thought, yes, I'm glad it's me and not just Harry by himself. Not that I don't trust your judgment, but I don't know. I just wanted to go through that process. And then I actually realised I don't like this job. It was really intense. I think it was partly because of the season obviously we're in as well. The houses were just being snapped up off the market so quickly.
The seller's market.
You did break my heart a few times.
Yeah.
So I think I had a different relationship with Moses.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we kept it together by you calling me Agent K. You kind of kept me sweet by doing that, because there's a few times when I wanted to just.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's very, very important, because that's when I remove the emotion.
Yeah.
And the emotion is when it's like, oh, he just broke my heart. And I'm thinking, Kelly's like, oh, there. And I'm like, nope. not gonna work. And get this up, but so yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how I broke your heart.
First of all, you said this house is not your house.
Yep.
I thought God said differently. So then you proved me wrong.
So this is the
house
you
you're
were
renting.
we're renting.
That
yeah.
you believe that you guys were going to buy this house, but then I said to you, it's not your house.
Then I was sending you them on WhatsApp,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a few that you said no. I thought, I haven't even seen this house, and this guy's telling me no.
Yeah.
I'm not being used to being told no. So I thought, who is he? Think he is? And I'm, okay, trust the process, trust the expert. And then there'd be a few that you sent through, and I'd be like, okay, we'll give it a go. But everything that you said in terms of checking out the environment, looking at the area, checking out with schools, shops, you're commuting, all these different things. You know, when you're saying it, I initially thought, yeah, common sense. Until going back to this house that you're now referring to, this very, very beautiful, literally like showroom kind of house. As soon as I saw the pictures, I was like, this is it. The amount of times I said, that's my house, and it wasn't my house, it was actually a joke. But I thought, this is my house. I got all excited. I couldn't wait. And then literally pulled up to the area and thought, okay, maybe it gets better. Turned a corner and I'm in this like open space, community centre looking car park, just surrounded up by the back of houses and fences. And I'm thinking, okay, so how do I kind of get out of here? And I see an opening in the fence. So then I think it was on my way through. I now see this dodgy character at the end of the lane. And I'm thinking, I went straight back into like my London mode. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from Bristol. So we're very friendly in Bristol. Yep. Everyone just say good morning. In London, I don't know what it is. The environment just makes you switch and act differently. You've got to be careful, and you're kind of like
you're alert.
People. You're alert. You're just. All of a sudden, I went back into that, and I thought, but I'm in Essex. How am I now going into like I'm back in Peckham? Like, what's going on? But there's this random guy at the end of the street, at the end of the lane, and I'm just smelling stuff that I don't want to be smelling, and I'm just like, oh no. So I walk through. I'm videoing the whole thing because I thought Moses has to see this. This is actually crazy. Go to the house and I'm thinking, this is so weird. It was like the most beautiful house, but just in the wrong place. So I think they'd done the house up knowing that actually we're in a peak season where they're going to get a lot for their house and they want to move out of the area. But I just knew there was no way, as beautiful as that house was, there was no way that I was going to live in that. I couldn't imagine it going up and down the lane, knowing that sometimes Darry gets home late from work himself. Not that he can't protect himself, but me, if someone follows me and they know that he's not in, if there's no lights on, you're just running through scenarios in your head. It's just not good at all. And I actually have a colleague who lives not directly in that area, but in the same location ish, and they're currently struggling. So area is really important because it doesn't matter how much you make your house look amazing. If people clock these things, it's not.
But then again, there were other people who were viewing the property saying it is so beautiful, it's amazing.
Because they didn't go back a second time and see a stranger in the lane as well. So
because
I went back a couple of times.
I sent you back. I was like, go back in the evening.
Yeah.
And then I said to you, stay on the phone with me. Yeah. And then you're like, what was this? There's a guy. Because there's something I say to, especially those who are married, and whether you're married or not, especially, I say to couples, I'm like, for the guy, I'm like, Darry, you okay? But one thing you must always have in mind is that, Darry, if you are at home or you're not at home, and Kelly's coming back home late at night, you must have peace of mind that she's safe. And I don't play with that. I'm a married man, I've got 2 daughters. But regardless, your safety is so important, and your environment. So they only just bought the house. Yeah. So they've viewed the house, they thought amazing, but they bought it and they thought, okay, let's do it up and let's sell. And the pictures were just, it's just that house that you see and you're like, this is it. And I was like, Kelly, no, it's not. You know, it's not. And you viewed quite a few properties, but then, and I was still breaking your heart, but then, because I knew, so when I work with clients, I get to understand you. So myself, I get to understand you as a person. Like, I get to understand what is Derek after, what is Kelly after, and what can you both get that will just marinate into one, that it works for the both of you. So it's not just about, I like this and I like this. It's, guys, talk about it, because I remember there was never a house in Kent. If you remember when you drove, and I said, really think about it though. Is he going to be okay going through that Duffer Crossing, for example? And it was a nice house. Remember, there was lovely living room. There was a garage. It was just like, and again, you go outside, there's like loads of people outside, and Kelly's would be like, are we really going to get a house? And then we made offers on some properties. But if you notice, everyone was always offering way higher.
Yeah.
And I would say to you guys, nope, let's bring it down. And you, I remember there was a time you said to me, you would not be able to make the offers that I was making, because you just thought, oh, Moses, is that okay?
Yeah.
But when we now finally got you the property, I want to talk about that. Because when we got you this house, and I knew, I just felt like this is the one. This is the one. And I came down, and then we looked at it. Now, from the outside, you were thinking, huh? What? Okay, area looks okay. But what I do with my clients is I show you potential. A lot of the time, people think I'll just buy the nicest house. But when you buy a house, for you to make it a home, you've got to add your own touch to it. Because the previous person did that to add their own touch to that property. So that was their home. But when you buy it, you wanna buy a property that you can say to yourself, like, yes. And I'm always asking that question: is this home? And Kelly will be like, it's like, she'll be like, let me speak to Darren quickly. And it's like, and then she would call that. Darren was like, if you like the house, Kelly, just go for it. Whatever you say, because obviously he's quite busy with what he's doing. And you'll be like, and I really got you to think about it. But if you notice, people were just coming, they were trying to talk to the agent so they can go through the door. But I was getting you to really think, because this is one of your most expensive asset. And the last thing we want is to have buyer's remorse. Like people who you've seen that you kept noticing that, Moses, they only just bought the house. Why are they selling? And then they'll be like, yeah, we wanted to move. But you notice that they've made a mistake. And they just thought, we need to get out. And I mean, that couple just thought, we need to get out of here. You can imagine every time they were coming home in the evening and they were smelling those stuff, and you're thinking, I can't believe this. So when we saw your property and we went in there and you looked around, talk us through that process when you saw that house.
We hadn't seen any pictures. There was no pictures online at first. So that was our mystery house.
Yes.
And then you rang and said, I found out some more information. It's actually a rental. And I thought, oh no, because I've only lived in scummy rentals. So I just thought, oh no, it's not going to be well looked after. It's going to be really bad. We just already looked at another property the day before, hadn't we, with my parents?
Yeah.
And then we thought, well, let's go and drive around the house, because we were now learning from you that, go and check out the area at different times, just go see what it's like, check out the journey from different places that you need to be. Because the one that we'd gone to in Kent, there was one in...
is it who?
Who? Yeah.
It was in Who, yeah.
When you look on a map and you just see that, 40 minutes or whatever, you're like, in your mind, you think, yeah, that's fine. But it's a little bit like that work commute. And initially, you're like, yeah, I can do that, just an hour on the train. Doing it every single day. We went down in separate vehicles, didn't we? You went in the van, I was in the car. And we were on the phone to each other. And on the way to the viewing, Dari's like, I can't do this. I can't, no, just this drive alone is saying no to this. But we've obviously already made the appointment, so we went and looked at it anyway. This one, now that we're in, we're like, okay, we're near the A13. It's not too noisy. It's nice, not cul-de-sac, but the through road isn't too busy. But initially we were like... And by this point, I'd seen 40 odd Properties, I think.
I
was
called
so
you-
confused.
I called you Agent K because I kept pushing you because what it is that what tends to happen for some people,
Yeah.
they tend to settle.
I didn't know what I wanted at that point. I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah, but I was like, no.
But you kept
I said to
reminding
you,
me.
no, we're gonna get you home. And when I told you, this is it, this is your home, and I meant that I was meeting you guys there, and I thought this is it. This is
That
the
was a
home.
nice surprise, actually, wasn't it?
Yes.
In the morning
Yeah,
when
in the morning.
Moses said, I got
Yeah.
a surprise for you.
I got a surprise
and
for
I was
you.
like, what? And you're like, I'm going to meet you there. And I was like, what? You're coming with us? And I couldn't believe it. Of all the ones that I'd gone to by myself or just us two on
Yeah.
the last one that
Yeah.
you saw with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. So I wasn't overly impressed by the outside. It was very dated. It was brown and just...
Mm-hmm.
But I said, okay, give it a chance. Let's look inside. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because of it being a rented property. Like we discussed before, it was very full of stuff and animals and more stuff and more stuff. But you were able to help us to look past the stuff and see it as a plain sheet, as an open, just as the carcass. Like, but imagine when you don't have all these wardrobes, you don't have all this furniture. So imagine how much more space you're going to acquire. It's not even in that bad condition. Like he'd already checked out. We know you with your damp anywhere or major cracks in walls and stuff like that. So we already knew we were quite safe in terms of the structure of the house. And then afterwards, remember he kept us outside talking for an hour on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like,
Yep.
what's this guy doing? But there's always a reason
Yeah.
for why Moses does
It
anything.
was more for him.
Yeah.
It was more for him.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, it was
because
more-
he's
Yeah,
not
because
seeing the
to-
properties
yeah.
as
Yeah,
much.
that tell us what was going through your mind because it was more for him.
Okay.
I was in fully like yes, like jump off kind of a thing.
Because he
I
wasn't
just
convinced.
I wasn't
When I said to him, "This is your
convinced,
home," he
yeah.
was like, "Nah, I'm not feeling
I
this."
was not buying into it. I was like, oh no, this. But again, what you did was letting us to see the potential of the property and also the things that normally people wouldn't see. And it's something that has been with me as well because I've always lived in nice rented property like Eddie said. I've always so just seeing that it's just like this is not, and I think I have to even say something because for people that are buying, because sometimes we just look at finished product that people have done and you want to just say that yes, this is because everyone wants a finished home, and by doing that, you are actually not able to see the potentials of what you could get when you and the process and the journey as well, the emotional connections to, just doing the house how you want it. And I think that's one of the journey that we went through with you that I really appreciated, that, just looking at the house now and seeing what we've done to it, it just become yours and you feel attached to it. Like it's not something that someone else has done, and then, you just, but now I can, absolutely say that, just seeing a house, I just know that this is us. We did this, we built this off the, I'm happy to come home. There's that attachment to it. It's like the house is yours because you put your, your
own mark to it.
Yeah, your home. Yeah, exactly. And so at the time I didn't see that. And again, that's what you did, you let us see.
What was blocking you initially though?
Yeah, it's just, again, I've lived in, nice rented property. Everything is done, it's fine, good to go. Let's just carry our bags and just go in. I don't need to be worried about we have to renovate some things. We have to do that. But if we were to do this again, which we're going to do, we will always go through that process because you open my eyes to learn a lot. And even about life in itself, the process, just open you to so many different things. So, going back in time, I would say that I would have, I would jump up even higher than Kenny and walk. Because I was just looking at you two that, what's making you guys, to be so excited? But you were just, talking us through that. Look at the area; it's quiet. There's, the regeneration as well. Yeah,
and
the
the cars.
the regeneration that, what is coming to that area. And, just being when Kelly's on the phone with you sometimes, like, you're going to be telling her that this is what is in that area. That's why you can't go for that house, and because if she send property to you, you always let her see the things that, because of this, because of that. That's why, that's not a good good buy. Yeah. And it's just all part of the process. But on this one that, we bought, again, it's just like, I was just there still, like, just looking at, what's going on. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, this is it. And,
but I think it's because you've always been in rentals. You've never done any house work anyway, whereas I've watched my dad doing things. So to me, I'm like, a lick of paint, this and that, no, would be all right. Whereas you don't get that freedom in a rental property. And I don't know if you even were that interested anyway to get a paintbrush or anything, or sometimes it's like fear of just not knowing the process, like the whole process of buying a house to begin with. You don't know really what you're doing, so it can be a bit daunting for some. So it's a lot easier to buy somewhere that's finished. But you either have extra money and get people in to do it, or you do it yourself. So.
And when we finish the conversation, because I think you guys are probably thinking, why is it taking so long? Because I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I can see beyond. And cut long story short, you guys moved in. We managed the whole process for you guys. We dealt with the seller, dealt with the agents, the solicitor. We got the survey. Everything was done. We dealt with all the headaches that was in there. There was headache of back and forth. So smooth. It was just smooth for you guys, because obviously when we work with our clients, one thing we do is that we ensure that the buying process does not affect your personal life. That you guys never got to speak to an agent, never got to speak to the landlord, never got to speak to even the solicitor that much. It was just everything. Survey's been booked. Search is back. And it's like, okay, and all of a sudden we completed. I haven't got to sit in the nice car that the tenant had. Became friends with the but one thing I would say is that I remember the landlord messaged me on New Year's Day to say, I'm happy to go with you. But before he agreed to go with you guys, he had asked me, are they going to do this by themselves, or are you going to help them with your company? Are you going to help them, support them through the process? And I said, I'm going to help them. And there was a higher offer on that house. And he said, okay, I'm going. It was crazy, wasn't it? And he still went with us. And because he was like, if you are going to work with this couple throughout the whole process, I know why he's saying that. He had gone on YouTube, he's gone on internet, he checked out our website, checked out what I do, and we then completed. And fast forward, you guys have now transformed this property to, it's just, we can't wait to do a tour. And I'm sure people want to see what you guys have done. And Kelly, you've gone from agent K to a builder. You've built a K. You've done your plastering course. You built a toilet in your house. Guys, she built a WC in her own house, which is amazing. Like, you did that, and you were putting your story on Instagram. So I want to say a massive well done to you guys, because you guys took that step. Thank you for trusting me, to help you with this process. And it's opened your eyes. Dara's like, we want to go. Now you're thinking of investment. You want to go even further. But what is one thing, while we round up, what advice do you have for those who aspire to become homeowners? Because obviously people are reading news right now. Interest is high. Some of the schemes are gone, but we're still helping people. So what advice would you give to people who are looking to become homeowners?
I wouldn't write off the whole process. I've heard so many people in the last few months, year, whatever, saying, there's no hope for our kids. And even yesterday, literally in the office, one of my colleagues said, well, I don't know what my children are going to do. And they're like 18, 19, 20, 21, that kind of age group. And she said, they're not ever going to get on the ladder. It's impossible right now. They're never going to afford it. And I'm just like, oh, don't speak that, because it is possible. If you just know, if you have the right people helping you, like yourself, you know, just always hold that vision, speak to the right people. And even though you are a service and a chargeable service, it's worth every penny, because one, the amount of stress, like you made it look so, your issue is you make it look so easy. If you get the wrong people, we could walk away and go, oh, we could do this by ourselves. But to be honest, we'll probably try it and fail terribly at the second house. So you're not going anywhere. But even, you know, it got personal with our landlady. It got messy because she wanted us out at a certain time. She made different promises and whatnot. But you came in as the third party, and that other voice always makes a difference, because you removed the emotion from me having to try and calm myself. You removed the emotion from her because she's talking to a professional. Yeah, okay, it was still at the back of my mind thinking, oh my gosh, we got to be out of here end of March. But you spoke to the solicitors, pushed it through. You spoke to the right people. Everything was just boom, boom, boom. I don't think she even thought we were going to be out by the end of March, but we went out even like, what was it, 4 or 5 days early?
Earlier, correct.
So not even on the day, 4 or 5 days early. And I remember she looked at me like, wow, I don't know how you managed that. So you helped with so many different things, and there's obviously stuff that we don't even see. So I think maybe we should interview you next time, because I want to know what kind of conversations you had, because you just made it look so easy. I was not looking forward to crossing over into 2022, because I had the hump. And I was like, I don't want to go to crossover Ian. I don't want to go. You know, I thought I was going to hear from you that day that yes. And then I already could see what the 1st of January was going to look like. And it wasn't for us, but I went and, you know, kind of had hope that maybe within that week we'd hear, but never thought we were going to hear from you at 10 o'clock that morning saying, your offer's been accepted. So it was a great way to start the year.
Awesome.
And just amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm to advise people that wants to go through this process, because there's quite a lot of things that we learn, and you know, I would just put it down to these 4 things. I think when you have a professional working with you, people take you seriously. That's one thing. I will always advise that. Everybody can say, oh, I can do this myself. Yes, you can do it. You know, if you can say, oh, I'm going to, you know, I want to drive. You can. I'm just saying, you know, you have family members trying to teach you, but when you have someone that's really teaching you the rules and how, you know, to go about things, I think people respect that. The people you're dealing with, once they know that you're with professional, and that's part of it. In our own process, we have about 14 or 20 people that view the property. People even have higher offer than us.
Yeah.
But the owner went with us because he saw that we have professional, we have someone that will work with us, and that is, you know, this speed up the process. That's one thing. And the second thing is just that there's no way that, you know, I would look back that doing it ourselves, that would have been able to prepare the preparation of what your company, you know, also help us through the process. Is just like you prepare us well, you know, so we are ahead because of the preparation. And the other one is just that there's possibilities of what, even wherever you are, you can always get something. There's something out there for you. You wouldn't know, but if you have someone, you know, like yourself, your company, what you do, you know, you show people of what is possible and what they can get. And then the fourth one, I have so many, by the way, but I will stop here, is the potential of now buying the property and seeing what you can, you know, do to it. In my own case, I think Kelly was more upfront because she works with you more closely. So sometimes she would tell me that, oh, there's this, we can do this to this, we can do that to that. I don't have an idea of what can be done. You know, again, that's how she was able to build the downstairs, you know, the toilets and do so many things to the house. And I think the potential of what, you know, you let people see in the process, I think that is priceless, you know, what you do, you know, because I work in an area that is, you know, very close to what you do as well. And I see how it's very easy for people to make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and, you know, you save people money. It's just as simple as that. That's it. You save people a lot of money. So I think that's
Wow.
Yeah, even
Just-
though they're paying you, they're still saving from any potential
Yeah.
losses. So even though it looks like an extra spend, it's not. It's still a saver.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Oh no, I can't act. And each time that I remember those siblings, that those two brothers, how much they overpay by 50K. Imagine that, guys. Honestly, like, yeah, I see it real. Like, it's no second-hand story. So, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, thank God for Moses. Thank God for Anna's property. What you do is unbelievable. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you for taking your time to come share your story. And if you have been inspired by this, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit also the notification, button so that we can share more real life stories like you. Until next time, believe that nothing is impossible.